for February 8th, 2024. The public can also access this meeting via WebEx technology. The high school building committee will hear public comments in person and virtually. Meetings are also broadcast live on Burlington Cable Access TV, and the video audio recordings are being made. This meeting of the Burlington High School Building Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this meeting in person. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. If you are participating remotely, please identify yourself by typing your name on the screen in advance and verbally once you're identified to speak. We request you please turn on your camera, and remember, comments and statements are limited to 3 minutes. The meeting number for this evening is 2412, password Burlington. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The next item is approval of the January 11th, 2024 minutes. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. And is Melissa online? I didn't get to really take a look at who's online. She's not in attendance.
Tom Regan.
Okay, so the only voting member that's missing is Melissa.
And Jeremy, you're here. Perfect. Yep, so you're here. All right, looks like we have everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and say all in favor.
Yeah, there's no one online. Who? Oh, Eric is online?
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric. I should have missed you. Shame on me. Okay, so Dr. Conti is an aye. Ms. Simon?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Chen? Dr. Chen? Aye. And the chair is an aye. Christine Monaco, please. Aye. Thank you. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes and 6, 0, 0. Alrighty. And the next item is invoices and commitments for approval. You gonna put the invoices up? Oh.
I didn't, sorry, I didn't, it's in that folder. Yeah, I'm just gonna need to pull it up on the folder, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Right. Bob, do you pop? Thank you. I'm still learning.
Well, see, that's what I get for coming in late, so.
Well,
That's why I
you'd
was-
think I have a vested interest in having it on the screen, given, yeah, so this is our monthly invoice for January in the amount of $18,000. Yeah. I already did.
Motion to approve.
And I have a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. I will take a roll call. Ms. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Dr. Chen?
Aye.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Monaco?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So that's 6-0-0. Okay. And the next item is public comment. Do we have anyone here who is in the audience who would like to speak? And do you see any hands up? All right, that was easy. So we have invited Amy Warfield here to do a presentation on open meeting laws. It's just a reminder for everybody. So welcome, Amy, and we look forward to what you have to say.
Yeah, and I would just like to add and thank Amy. I know we have some newer board members that may have not served in this capacity before, and it's a good reminder, no matter how much experience you have, to understand what open meeting law is and how it affects not just meetings here, but really more importantly when we're not together. And I think Amy's going to touch on email and what you can and can't do, and I'll be quiet from there because the expert's here.
Thank you. Amy Warfield, Burlington Town Clerk. I guess in terms of a presentation, what I was interested in more was what questions you might have. I see most of the people in the room do have some experience with being on an appointed or elected board here in Burlington. But I can kind of give a quick overview and then be glad to take some questions. So pretty much the basic background with being, thank you, sorry. See, I usually get to hide. I don't have to be in front of the mic. The basic points about being on a board or committee of a public body in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is that you are required to follow some certain rules. First off, with the basic things about meeting postings, that meetings have to be posted 48 business hours before the meeting is held. An agenda of what's reasonably thought to be considered has to be posted at the latest at that point in time. If you know something ahead of time, you can always put it in, and then that can be updated. And again, as long as it's done at least 48 hours prior with the update, that's fine. But if something does come up as an emergency, that can be put in, again, as long as you have a posting already done. The other thing is that when you are brought on board onto a board or committee, you need to be sworn in, okay? And that is done in the clerk's office, or in the case of this committee, I think I came out to you all and you were sworn in and signed in. The other thing is that any minutes or anything that is passed around, your notes are always subject to public access requests. So things that you write down and that type of thing could be requested by the public. There's not a requirement in open meeting law in terms of transcripts. Your secretary is responsible for writing the minutes and submitting them to you. The minutes do have to be, first by town bylaw, and secondly by open meeting law, into the clerk's office within 30 days. That doesn't mean that they have to be approved. There's nothing in either open meeting law or in Robert's Rules of Orders that requires approval by the board of the minutes. It's up to the recording secretary to submit minutes to the best of their ability. So that's another piece that I think people always get caught up in. When we reach out to boards and say, you haven't given us minutes, everybody's response is, the board hasn't approved them. There's nothing that says the board approves them. Okay, it is up to your recording secretary to make accurate minutes. You all certainly have the option to be able to check them and proof them and that kind of stuff, but it's not a requirement. And then the last thing that I'd just like to remind people is that when you're dealing with communicating with each other outside of a meeting, email is a wonderful tool, but that any continued conversations back and forth between members of the board, even if it's not a quorum, is considered a violation of open meeting law. Because if you're discussing and transacting business outside of the public meeting, that could be construed that you were making decisions, that kind of stuff, outside of the public meeting. And the public did not have a chance to hear that or see that or interact with that decision. So what you can do with emails is if, like basically your meeting posting is a communication. Here's the meeting, here's the agenda, I send it out to you. It's when people get into trouble is when they then respond back. Oh, wait a minute, I thought we were going to talk about this. Or Mary and I talked about this at coffee, and so I think we should do it. That's when you get the circular communication, which is a violation, okay? And so, I mean, pretty much that's what I think of with open meeting law. There's a lot of other legal things with it. A quorum is also something that you have to be very aware of and careful of. And I know we've talked about that a lot with a lot of the school subcommittees and that type of thing, that when you have a quorum of a board at another board's meeting, you need to do a joint posting so that basically any decision or any discussion that's going on is recorded by both committees. Now, does that mean that both committees have to take the minutes? No, it doesn't mean that, but it means the recording secretary that is taking the minutes must reflect that both boards are present. And that if a vote is done, you have to determine who is the board that is actually running the meeting, and that there might become a point where you have to take two sets of votes, one by the committee who's running the meeting and one by the other committee. So that gets where it gets again into tricky. The only difference with that that I'm aware of, there might be another couple of them, is when you are a board that is replacing or filling a vacancy on a board. And when the board meets with the Board of Selectmen, then the vote that is taken is a joint vote of both boards together. And that has happened in Burlington a number of times in the recent past. So I guess any other question? It's kind of a big and wide, varied topic. I guess, like I said to somebody earlier, is the biggest thing is if you're worried about it being a violation of open meeting law, don't do it. That would be the easiest thing. You could come check with my office. You can also check with the chair of the committee that you're on and ask, do you think this is a problem? We have a couple tools that we have for you, one of which, I couldn't find the other big one because there's a new one coming out with the newer governor. But we have this document in our office that comes from the state. You're welcome to, I have it scanned in. I believe it's up on our website at burlington.org, and you can pull down a copy of it for yourself.
Yeah, and everyone should have received that document
Yeah.
Through the meeting materials. So,
and I guess the only other caution that I always say to people is, in this day and age, I know all of us I worked in private industry for 25 years before I came to work for the town. I know we're all used to going to board meetings. We all know what a meeting is like. But a meeting of a public entity has some different responsibilities, is the best I can say for you.
Thank you, Amy. You explained everything, I think, in as succinctly as you could have. Did anyone have any other questions? And I can say, I know that I've called you on occasion with questions, and you're very knowledgeable, and I really appreciate that. And you call people back. So, again, thanks for what you do. It's definitely appreciated, and thanks for your time this evening. All right. Bob, there were no questions online that you saw hands up or anything? Okay, perfect. All righty, I guess we go. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much. Have a good meeting.
Yes, you too. Nice evening. All right, so the next item is the Designer Selection Subcommittee recommendation.
Yeah, so I think everyone is aware that we did interview two firms, Tape Architects and Jonathan Levy. That happened on the 25th. I think they were both very good presentations. I'm sure many of you that attended them have had a chance to reflect on those. I did send out a survey to everybody that was part of that subcommittee, compiled all those responses, shared those with everyone. And I think, from previous discussions, that designer selection subcommittee is really meant to come up with a recommendation for the entire committee on a path forward. And so I shared the survey results with, frankly, I've shared them with the entire committee. But I think it would be in our best interest for those that are on that subcommittee to offer some thoughts and figure out if we have consensus on how we want to move forward. And if we come to consensus, then we can move forward, and I can outline that.
All right, so again, I looking at the spreadsheet and how people, I guess you want to say, ranked the two architects. One did come out on top, and from what I could see, and that was Tape. So I guess I could ask the question, if everyone's comfortable with that, who saw that, then we can actually take a vote on that this evening to move forward, if everyone's in agreement. Is everyone comfortable with that, or anyone have comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Monaco, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Campbell.
I'm in agreement with what you said. I just wanted to say that I think both firms went out of their way to do great presentations for us, and it was interesting, and we learned a lot. And it's too bad that we can't hire both of them, but that isn't how it works. And so I agree with what you said. And I'll make a motion when you want, but other people might have input they want to give.
Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, so I just want to explain, I had planned on filling out the survey, but I had a clear bias going into it and just wanted to explain that. I worked in a school that was designed by one of the firms for 3 years. The district that I'm currently on has 3 schools, 2 they built, another one in my hometown has one where they are building. So I went into it with a clear favorite, so I decided to just back out because of that.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Brooks.
No, I'd just like to echo the committee's comments. There was 2 great presentations. I believe Tape went a little bit above and beyond, understood our problem set, and the fact that we want to explore multiple different options to make this renovation or addition happen.
Thank you. And any other comments? Anyone online? Okay, so I think I have the printout.
Yeah, so I was just going to outline what we're going to do, and then. No, yeah, thanks. So what someone's going to make a motion, but effectively what will happen from a next steps perspective is I'll notify the architects that are probably watching now, but and with Nicole being out till Tuesday, the motion will be to allow us to engage with Tape on a fee proposal, provided we stay within the agreed upon budget that we have, that it's already been approved, and we'll look to get them under contract ideally as quickly as possible, but certainly I would expect within a week. And you would expect to see them at our next SBC meeting, which I think is on the 14th of March. And so that's what I'll be doing coming out of this.
Thank you.
You
So
want the motion?
yeah, I think I did print it just in case.
I move that that we seek a fee proposal from Tape Architects and enter into contract provided total compensation. Wait a minute. Motion to seek fee proposal from Tape Architects and enter into contract, provided total compensation is within the budgeted amount previously approved.
Second.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the roll call. Ms. Simon,
Aye.
Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Dr. Chen,
Aye.
Dr. Conti,
Yes.
Ms. Monaco,
Aye.
and the chair is an aye, so it's 6-0-0 to move forward.
Can I just ask, on behalf of my colleagues, sometimes it's difficult to figure out who made the motion and who seconded. Jeremy, you made the motion. Who
No, I
seconded?
Chris made the motion.
Oh, you made the motion,
Remember, I
Chris.
awkwardly
Sorry.
She read it.
off the
That's
page
yeah. You're right.
and had to stop and
Yep,
start
good.
over. That was me.
That was you. Yep. Yep.
All righty. I think it's one of those nights.
Well, and honestly,
It's
that's
me,
it's
yeah,
a it's a
it's my
big
fault.
step that we've come to, and I look forward to reaching out to Charlie and moving this forward. So, congrats to the subcommittee for sitting through all that, making the recommendation, and for the committee approving how we want to move forward. It's a big step. It really is.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is the SBC voting members discussion. So before we start that, I just want to make a quick statement. So I'd like to make a statement before we open this up for discussion. We are lucky we live in a town where so many people are willing to volunteer their time for a project such as this. From the research presented to me from multiple sources for similar building committees, it is more common for all who are on the committee to have a vote than not. Historically in Burlington, that has been the case other than the Fox Hill Building Committee. I understand the concern about the administrators as employees of the school committee. However, it is the expectation of the school committee that the administrators vote what is best for the students, teachers, and the town. I also believe the school committee members are professional enough to put their personal feelings aside if an administrator does not vote the same as they do. So right now I'd like to take a straw poll with a show of hands who feel that everyone who is in the committee should have a vote other than the students. So anyone, I'd like to take a very quick straw poll, like just in general for the people who are in here and online. If you can hold your hand up if you feel that the people who are taking their time to attend these meetings should all have a vote.
I don't feel ready to make that
And,
decision.
do you see how many online?
Yeah, I would like to speak as well.
Like I said, everyone will have the opportunity. I just want a straw poll vote right now. Dominic, you see online? Okay. All right, and then, and again, I will ask, people who don't feel that everyone should have a vote. I'd like to see hands for that as well, and then we can have discussion.
I also don't feel ready to vote on that.
Okay. I guess just a poll.
Mhm.
It's not a vote. Okay, so, like I said, I will open it up for discussion at the moment. Anyone online I heard someone who wanted to speak online?
Mimi said that.
Mimi.
I'd be happy to speak. This is Mimi Biggs Highland. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
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 Okay. So in November, I invited this committee to reconsider the composition of its voting members. I asked everybody to consider two issues that I think raise conflict of interest. One of those two issues was raised by Amy earlier. The issues I raised in November were: one, having all 5 members of the school committee meeting being voting members of this building committee, thereby making this building committee an appendage of the school committee. And the second point that I raised was this school committee made the superintendent and assistant superintendent voting members, even though they could choose to use both administrators solely in an educational advisory capacity. There are communities that have their superintendents of schools on these building committees as voting members. Examples would be Concord, Belmont, Braintree. But there are also communities who use their superintendents in an educational advisory capacity and do not give them the vote. Examples of this would be Wellesley, Westwood, and Reading. There are other communities as well. But I want to put that forward so that folks listening can understand that it isn't this way everywhere, despite what folks may assume. And I also the point I raised in November was that even though we, by choosing to have these administrators be voting members and sitting on a committee like this, as if they have parity when they don't. And I know, Ms. Bond, you just raised that issue. You acknowledged it and said you place high trust that people can manage that. But I ask you to think hard on the implications of this political dynamic. I personally, as a resident, an educator, as a parent, I would like to see my administrators focusing more of their energies on things other than a committee of this nature that is so political. And last, I express my belief that a committee responsible for a multi-million capital building project have more representation by Burlington taxpayers. So that is, in summary, what I had opened up in November, and I'm hoping others will speak to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ms. Simon?
Yes, I had suggested we take some time to research this. It's obviously a very heightened issue. Obviously, everybody here has volunteered or been chosen because they are willing to dedicate time and their efforts to this process for a new or a renovated high school. And I think it's a really important issue for the town. And I really value everyone here. I am not, we've heard a lot of various reasons pro and con, although some of them contradict. Some people feel one way and some people feel another way. I did get research from 5 towns, including Burlington, and each town, as Ms. Biggs Highland says, each town does construct their school building committees differently. With MSBA requirements, there are a lot of requirements that are a lot of what we have here. They do not have a category, however, for, say, parents or teachers. We have added that to our committee. It's not, how do we end up with this particular group? I think the person who put the list together did use the MSBA guidelines. We also had volunteers who stepped up, and that's good. I do want us to continue to have a calm conversation about this. I think it's become very political in town, and I wish it isn't. I wish it wasn't so political, but I feel like our decisions are being freighted very much by politics in town. And so I'm not ready to expand the voting members at this point. I still feel the need to talk about it. I see reasons to do that in different ways, but I don't feel really ready to decide that tonight. So,
Anyone else have a comment or a question? Yes, Mr. Davison.
So I guess I feel like I should speak because I was vocal to some degree about the Fox Hill Building Committee makeup. And my concern that I voiced, and I continue to try to explain, my concern about the makeup of that committee and the number of voting members was because I felt like that committee very quickly, due to the SBA, was pushed into making decisions that had to do much more with policy and things that I thought should be an elected board's decision. I didn't think it was appropriate for a school building committee to make a decision that we were going to have 3 elementary schools instead of 4, because we had that was a town decision that's been there for a long time, and so I was really concerned when you then looked at the makeup of that committee. You could say that, I mean, there were people who weren't residents on the committee. There are people, and so that's concerning. I think in a normal building committee, I mean, I sat on the building committee for the DPW. That's trying to gather input from across the town and from across the users. And we certainly had city employees, we had DPW members, that sat on that building committee, and that to me is the way the building committee should function. So in this, I don't see us headed into any big issues. The only concern maybe is that we at some point are going to have to decide what happens to BCAT, what happens to the lab program. You know, I suppose this committee could be the ones that make that decision, and I'll be very vocal and against that. I think that needs to be an elected board's decision. But otherwise, we're asking everybody to be here and participate, and in that sense, it seems that they should need a vote. I guess I'm concerned that you feel like it's gotten that political in town for this committee. I haven't really heard that, so maybe I'm not paying attention, but I haven't seen that. We certainly saw it with Fox Hill, but I have not seen it here. And I guess my final thought, as you were speaking, Martha, is if we can't get a strong consensus among the 20 or 25 or 30 members of this committee, it's never going to get voted. We'll never pay for it. I can promise you that, so we're wasting our time. So if we can only manage it with a small group who we have to worry about might be this or might be that, we're wasting our time. We have to come together and make a decision. And if we can't get a large group here that's pretty broadly, complementing the makeup, then I think we're in trouble.
Ms. Monaco.
I kind of echo what Doug said. I don't get the comments about this particular committee being so overly political. I agree that the Fox Hill one was very political, is very political, has been. Maybe it isn't anymore, I don't know. But the whole question about changing the modeling of the town school system from 4 elementary schools to 3 was very much a political issue, and it brought out people from every corner. But this committee, I don't see the same way. I think we all recognize on this committee that we need to do something, and whether we can build a new school or whether we can rehab this school is, I think we all have to look at all the options, and I don't think anyone has their mind made up in advance, and I don't see a political tug of war over this. I would like everyone who puts their time in to have a vote. I think everyone who puts their time in deserves to have a vote. And I just don't see it as a political issue. I think we can all work together very well to come up with what's best. And I will echo Doug's last point, which is we need a large group if we want to get this passed. If we want to get this going to be a lot of money. And we all need to be working together and on the same page to make it happen.
Okay, there are 2 hands that are raised online, and who's the first one?
Sherry Ellis.
Ms. Ellis?
Ms. Ellis? If you're talking, Sherry, we can't hear you.
Just unmute.
We still can't hear you.
Miss Ellis, you're muted. I'll move to Melissa.
We'll go to the other person and we'll see if Sherry can get her audio working. Who's the second person?
Miss
Ms. Massardo.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm calling in from the Ice Palace, and Sean Hart wanted me to let everyone know that we won the girls' hockey game. So,
Yay.
I just want to be real quick. I echo the sentiment that I think for now that we only voting members really should be the elected folks. I heard so much commentary that my constituents are, the town is leery of non-residents, non-taxpayers, and non-elected folks making decisions. And I think at least during the feasibility study phase that there's going to be quite a bit of decisions that impact the whole community and that could impact education and, you know, the future of our school system. I believe everyone when we say we get one shot at getting this school through and funded, and there's going to be some very important and very tough decisions that need to be made. And I think the elected folks are in the best place to be making those decisions. That absolutely does not mean we don't value input. Again, we have Ways and Means, many planning board, so many areas of the town DPW that need to be represented. But ultimately, I think the decision with which, you know, route we go at the end of feasibility into schematic design, I think really should lie with the school committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ellis, do you want to try again, Sherry?
Yeah,
We still can't hear you, or I don't know if you're on mute or you have the wrong mic on the computer. I'm not sure.
There's another hand, Z Wang.
Is there another hand up other than Sherry?
Yeah, Z Wang.
Oh, yes. Z Wang, please.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So last meeting on the 11th, Martha recommended to table the voting member issue, and then she recommended that we do some homework or research. So I did check online with around 10 towns like Wellesley, Lexington, Billerica, Westwood, Reading, Concord, Belmont, Amherst, and Braintree. So with their school building committees, none of them have only school committee members to be the voting members. So they have people from select board, planning board, town budget department, town meeting, and community volunteers, and some members from school committee as voting members. They all have around 10 to 20 voting members. So I think I got the impression, I don't know how many non-voting members we have here. I got the impression there might be around 12. So if they are residents, town meeting members from other board and committees, I think it only would be the right thing or the great thing to make them as all voting members. It's just a more representative. So just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There are 7 voting members. I just wanted to make sense.
Okay.
You were referring to the non-voting.
Referring to
members, right?
non-voting or voting?
12, when you said 12.
There's 16. Yeah, there's 16.
Meeting says 12, but what did you say? Right now you have 7. 5
7 voting members, correct.
All from a school committee, right? And then Dr. Connie and Dr. Chen, right?
Yeah, there are 5 school committee members and 2 administrators who are voting members.
Right. Do you guys have a lot more other members as non-voting members?
Everyone who's attending other than those 7 is a non-voting member.
Right now.
Right. How many are there?
There are 16
Additional people who are attending who are not voting members.
Right. Are all the 16 people from our town, like residents from other board or committees?
Not 100%, no.
They work in town,
but they're not, they may not all live in town.
So I'm just saying, from what I read online, all other towns where they're doing, if these members, they are our residents, or community volunteers or town meeting members, or from say select board or planning board or Ways and Means, then it will be a great thing to have them as voting members. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I got the whole
What you're trying to present,
present.
yeah. So you're saying if someone is, say, if you're a teacher and you live in town, you can be a voting member. So am I interpreting that correctly? Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, come to Dr. Conti and Dr. Chen. Like Mimi mentioned earlier, that I looked up all the towns I researched. Half of them, they have a superintendent as voting member. And I don't think any of them have assistant superintendent as a voting member. And then the other half, the superintendent, they're not. So that really depends on town to town. But my personal opinion, whether they're voting members or not, they probably should be present in this kind of meeting, and also include the high school principal because this is their high school. And then because they're the expertise, they know their school well, they know all the regulations, they know all the curriculum. So their presence and their opinions are very valuable. That's another opinion, sorry.
Oh, thank you very much.
And Sherry, did you get your audio to work yet? I don't want to miss you. Okay. Anyone else in the
I have a
room?
question.
Oh, yes, Ms. Monaco.
I think you mentioned that you had spoken at town council. Did you?
Yeah, I spoke to them in general about past history for our town. And again, it has been all but the Fox Hill committee is the only one where everyone didn't have a vote who was attending the meetings. And then I just got clarification on whatever we decide here, it still has to go to school committee for the school committee to vote on what we make on a decision here. So I wanted to make that clear as well. So it's not a done deal per se, but since we're all here as a school committee, I think we'll know how that vote will go when it goes to school committee, right? So any other, yes, Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a point of clarification. I was trying to understand Member Davidson. So were you in favor of non-elected members because of the fate of BCAT and the other programs in these offices not being voting members or being voting members? I had trouble understanding you.
I apologize.
Mr. Davidson.
I'm in favor of everyone on this committee being a voting member. My only concern with that would be if you come to something that really affects more than this building as a high school, because you're putting then on the town, what do we do with BCAT? What do we do with these things that have always been housed here and are paid for in that way? So then I think that just seems like a bigger than a high school building committee. Otherwise, I am in favor, and I'm not sure, what could go wrong in that sense as far as having people. I get, yeah. I then had a question, a follow-up.
Okay, yeah, and I just want to say that I just want to remind everyone that this committee is, people recommending, what we want to do, right? And it shouldn't be, political in that way. It should just be we're looking at what's best for the students, best for the teachers, best for the town. And that means the whole picture. And I think the more people we have, yes, we're listening to everyone, but if we let them have a say, if you're spending the time, you should have more than just I'm spending the time and get to give, express my opinion. And, I did talk to other people as well. And, I understand your concern, or I think you were saying that, non-residents maybe shouldn't have a vote. Someone brought that up. And, another person gave me an opposing, view of that, saying, well, they're impartial. Maybe that's the voice you need to hear. So, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to listen to everybody. And, I hear everybody. I don't want people to think that I don't as the chair. But again, I feel like this is such an important project that we do need buy-in from the whole community. We need buy-in from everyone who's giving their time for this. It's time consuming to be here. And I really feel strongly that if you're going to spend the time and invest the time, that you should have, more of a say than just showing up and expressing your opinion. That's just my opinion. So I believe, Mr. Campbell, did you have your hand up as well? Then we'll go back to you, Mr. Davidson, with your question.
Yeah, I was one of the vocal people to talk about the composition of the votes myself. And I think one of the big reasons that the Fox Hill Building Committee was so political, and respectfully, was we have all 5 of our school committee members on there that brought the politics into this situation, rather than what a building committee is supposed to be as an advisory board. And just as Madam Chair just said, the role of this committee is to advise the school committee, where the school committee will then vote on it. And they can vote down things that this board recommends. It's okay to have discourse and disagreement because we're looking at it from a different view and a different lens. And with having elected members, there are elections. people can get voted out, people can retire and move on. But this position and composition is made up for going forward through this project. And so it should be representative of a large swath of our town because, as we've said, we're going to have to find coalitions to move this project forward. Everyone's going to have an opinion on what they think is going to be best for the high school, from current parents, past parents, future parents, seniors that just can't have their tax bill go up anymore. I mean, there's going to be a large swath of our community that's going to want us to have a say. And if we do open this up to every member here currently, that shows that we're going to work on better arguments to be able to present to the town, because we're going to have to find coalitions, support each other, and get arguments together. But the other part of having a large board, and one of the things that I think was a little short-sighted with the Fox Hill, is more people to then more outreach into the community. And that is going to be really important here, because there's going to be thoughts and ideas, and we're going to want to pull them in and pull in other avenues here. So I think if we are leaving this to just the current 7 members, it's going to really challenge the confidence that even us as non-voting members would have in this board, and I would say that our community would have in this board. And if we really want to do this right, we need to open this up to everyone to have that vote here, because we are putting in the time, we are doing the research, and then we are then empowered, just like town meeting members, but empowered to then go out and talk to our neighbors, go out and talk to the teachers, go out and engage in our administrators and say, what are you thinking here? Here's what we're thinking, and having those productive conversations.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. And Mr. Davidson, you said you had a question? You're good? Yeah, hold on one second. Is Sherry now able to speak, or did she write her question or comment? Yeah, okay. Could someone read that? Could you read that, Mr. Cuna, since you can see it? I can't see it.
Message, should I read it?
I just asked Bob to do it.
Okay. Yeah, so Sherry did put this in a question in the chat. I'm going to read it verbatim. She did say apologies for the poor typing. She did it quickly. I have a question about the open meeting law and confused that the school committee members are voting on this subcommittee and the agenda is not posted by the school committee. With the school committee vote again on the open meeting law that was approved tonight. That's verbatim.
It should have been posted by as both, right?
This meeting is posted as a joint meeting.
So you could actually vote.
So we can actually vote tonight, but we'd have to, we still, like I said, we still need to take a vote, though, according to legal counsel. We still have to take a vote at a school committee meeting. That's what he told me.
Right, but this is a school committee.
Yes, I know.
As well as.
Correct. Yes. I'm sorry, Ms. Monaco is saying stuff to me, which I think we already, Amy had already mentioned, is that because all of the school committee members are here, this is considered a joint meeting. And it's posted as such. I hope that answered your question. Mimi, I see your hand physically up. So.
I think as I read Shari's statement, I'm seeing 2 parts to it. So I think you clarified the open meeting law part, but I think she's also asking, how can the school committee be the ones to solely vote on this subcommittee? That's the conflict of interest that I think she's challenging that. If I am misrepresenting you, Shari, could you please put that in the text box?
Yeah, I'm not 100% clear on the question.
I'm interpreting it is from, again, when I spoke to legal counsel, right? If we take a vote or make a recommendation in this meeting, whatever we vote on, to move forward with, if we're going to, let's say, for example, we all decide that everyone has a vote, that still has to go to the school committee. Even though we're voting on it and the school committee's here, we still have to take that to the committee to the school committee who formed this committee to take another vote. That's how he explained it to me.
Yes. No, Catherine, thank you. I understand what you're saying. She did write that my interpretation is correct. I think she was posing a challenge anyway, I'll say no more. I was just trying to offer some.
I appreciate that. It's hard to try and interpret other people's words when they're not your own, and I appreciate that. Ms. Monaco?
Chris's comments raised a question in my mind. This committee is not under SBA rules. However, the Fox Hill Committee is under SBA rules. And it is my understanding, and the reason I'm bringing this up is, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that under SBA building committee rules, the building committee makes the decision. In past times, like when we did other schools, it was a committee, the building committee would recommend to the school committee. But that isn't the case anymore, as I understand it. The building committee makes the decision.
Again, that question is to me, so thank you through the chair. I guess I may not be the person to answer that
Eric's on. Maybe.
correctly. My interpretation is that the school building committee has authorization over the questions that were presented to them, over the budget that was presented to them and approved for them to use, and the voting power bestilled in them. Again, at some point, if we are to build a new building or go to the town meeting and so forth, again, this committee has a recommendation. The school committee obviously has, an interest in school business, so we'll make a recommendation and a vote as well. But again, I think what this committee is tasked to do is follow the project lines with the budget that was approved for them. Anything outside and above and beyond those tasks.
Right, but it used to be, way back when, it used to be that this committee would go to the school committee with a recommendation, and the school committee would, kind of have to accept it, and except in very rare instances. But since this committee is not an SBA building committee, we probably do have to bring it back to the school committee, because we wouldn't be under SBA rules. And maybe Eric knows, and maybe we can clarify it at another meeting. But I just didn't want to leave everyone thinking that every building committee then goes to the school committee, because I don't think that's how it works under SBA anymore.
No, and again, it's we're having our meetings for the recommendations, but again, when it comes to something like we're talking about adding members who are voting members, that does have to go from here as a vote to the school committee. Other recommendations, my understanding is we don't have to do 2 votes on everything. We're making the recommendations. We're the ones listening and participating in all these meetings. And when we have our consensus of, after we've gone through all the steps and all the process, we make the big recommendation to the school committee, and then they vote on it. It's not every single thing we decide on needs to go to the school committee. Is there another question online?
No, again, I did just want to comment that obviously what, Ms. Monaco just said is that this school committee members created this task team, for a specific task. And since we are not under MSBA officially, we may be in the future, but we're not now. Again, this would probably fall as a subcommittee to the school committee, would be my interpretation. Again, I'm no lawyer, but.
Thank you. And Ms. Simon?
I also want to just say that this meeting may have been improperly posted. In the past, we've been posting them specifically as the Burlington High School Building Committee and the school committee meetings, and it doesn't appear to be done properly just for tonight. So we will make sure we post them properly going forward.
Steve?
Sure. Just to offer a few comments as it relates to MSBA process, committee-wise, subcommittee-wise. The MSBA, I think, has learned to make sure that the committee is formed, whatever local bylaws are required locally, your town district. I think they've learned because in the past they've had projects submitted thinking that they had the approval of the town. And again, I'm no attorney or lawyer, so this is not, legal advice, but I think having been involved with projects with the MSBA since they reformed, I think they learned their lesson and have created that form specifically, that it's signed off, that it conforms with all local bylaws, so that when they receive a recommendation from the building committee, that it has the formal approval of the body that's been empowered to make that decision. I think there's a lot of good conversation happening tonight about decisions that might lie within the town beyond the representatives of this committee specifically. And I think that's a really good conversation to have. And so if at any point in the process, if anybody on this committee feels like there's a decision that is looming or that will come up in the future that the authority or of that decision lies outside of this room, then I think we should just be made aware of that. One of the things we hope to do is to make a list of those decisions that are yet to be made and understand who from the town, if it's not within this committee or the school committee to make that decision, who that is so we can engage them. On Fox Hill, again, not to blur lines, but from planning board to DPW to Conservation Commission to Select Board and Ways and Means, I think we've learned a lot about how to engage those groups, and I think the earlier that we can forecast when those decisions are happening are better for everybody, and we can play certainly a big role in that, and also as the designer comes on board so they understand which groups to engage as well.
Thank you. I appreciate your input because I think it helps everyone understand. And again, I think we have the flexibility and we should involve, to Mr. Davidson's point, we're making those big decisions that we can pull the right people in. And I think we should. It should be a discussion. So thank you. Any other comments or there's a raised hand. And who is that? I can't see.
Again, I will have to read it. This is also from Ms. Ellis. Again, I'll read it verbatim. So, follow-up question. It seems to me to be redundant to have the entire school committee as the only voting members on the subcommittee. I did not see when the members were approved. There are no meeting minutes that show the discussion or vote of the membership. Please let me know when that occurred.
I'll get back to you. I believe we have to go back and look at one of the school committee meetings because that was decided at a school committee meeting. We'll get back to you.
I agree with her.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Campbell?
I think this just highlights the political nature of trying to avoid the politics by keeping 5 school committee members as the vote. I mean, we're all aware this still has to go back to school committee for a vote here. So even this vote seems a little trivial to some of us here on the sidelines because we know where this has to go. But if we really want to instill trust in this process, if we want to make it fair, if we want to make it democratic, if we really want to listen to each person who's here with the varied experiences that they're bringing, we need to have this be a full committee with everyone represented. Because again, elections happen, people retire. One or more of us may not make it to the finish line here for a number of reasons. That's the ability of having a large board is that can and will happen. Commitments happen, things happen. But if we're locking ourselves in here with 5 school committee members, there is an election coming up. There's going to be one the year after that. Things will happen. My understanding is those people who are voted in are the people, not the school committee members. So they will continue as the voting members, even if they're not if they lose their election or if they choose to retire. So I think we're trying to so focus on this idea of 5 school committee members here because there are actually 5 people that were voted onto this, not just as school committee members. So we really need to think about opening this up to a larger audience here for voting.
Thank you. Any other hands up online or anyone else in the room? All right. So I guess we'll have to have a discussion at another meeting. We can probably move on at this point since I think everyone has spoken who wanted to. Ms. Monaco?
I'd just like to request that it be on the agenda for the next school committee meeting.
Okay. All righty. So the next item is the website.
Yep. Obviously, we talked about the website last meeting. We showed folks kind of the structure of it. I think we got some good buy-in from some folks. One thing I will say is that's going to be a living and breathing document. And Martha, I know you've provided me some feedback on some things about, topically what we can put on the homepage, and we're looking into that right now, filling out the about sections. What our intention is to get our designer into the tent and get them onto the website and launch that. So the intention is that by the next committee meeting, the website will be live, and then we will form that communication kind of PR group and sit down with those folks to, elicit feedback that folks are getting from people that are hitting the site, and what we can do to make it better, change things. But I think we've got the structure right now that we should have. We can always tweak things with suggestions, but the intention is to get the architect on board and then get the website launched. So we have the name, so we're in good shape there. So it should be ideally in the next 2 weeks.
Excellent. Anybody have questions? And again, it's fluid, so I do invite people to, once we get it up and running, to check it out and again, make suggestions, or if you found something not easy to find, let us know, because for me, my whole thing is making sure that when you open up their website that it's very intuitive on where you want to go when you're looking for things, that you can find it. Want to make it very easy for everybody. All right, and again, I'll open it up for public comment, and I don't think there's anyone in the room. And there are no hands. All right, and you have the schedule for the next meetings?
The schedule for the next meeting is March 14th, and just as a gentle reminder, we meet the second Thursday of each month. So, I'll start to book that out. I'll probably just book out the meetings for the rest of the year, so you're probably going to get an extension of that calendar invite, unless we know that there's something that's coming up that we can't do that Thursday for whatever reason. So,
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, everyone in favor? All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
thank you.